This story is based on one of the most disturbing paranormal encounters ever reported. It happened in Texas during the late 1990s. A journalist named Brian Bethel claimed he experienced something so terrifying that he never forgot it. One evening, Brian was sitting alone in his car outside a movie theater. The parking lot was nearly empty. The sun had already set. Only a few streetlights illuminated the darkness. Brian was reviewing paperwork and writing checks. Everything felt normal, until he heard a knock on his driver's side window. Knock. 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 At first, he assumed it was someone asking for directions, maybe a teenager needing help. But when he looked up, he immediately felt something was wrong. Two boys were standing beside his car. They appeared to be around 12 or 13 years old. They wore ordinary clothes. Nothing about their appearance seemed unusual. Yet Brian later said he felt an overwhelming sense of fear the moment he saw them. The older boy stepped forward. His expression was calm, almost too calm. "Mister, can you give us a ride?" Brian hesitated. The request seemed harmless. The boy explained that they wanted to see a movie but had forgotten their money. He said their parents would be worried if they didn't get home soon. The explanation sounded reasonable. Yet every instinct in Brian's body told him not to unlock the door. The boys never smiled. They never looked nervous. They simply stood there, watching him, waiting. Then the older boy spoke again. "We can't come in unless you let us." Those words sent a chill down Brian's spine. He couldn't explain why. The sentence itself wasn't threatening, but something about the way it was spoken felt wrong, cold, emotionless, almost rehearsed. For a moment, Brian considered unlocking the door. After all, they were only children. What danger could they possibly pose? Then he looked directly into their faces and noticed their eyes. Their eyes were completely black. No white, no iris, no pupils, only darkness. Brian froze. For a few seconds, he couldn't move. He couldn't think. He couldn't even breathe properly. Every survival instinct in his body screamed the same warning. These were not normal children. The older boy took another step closer to the car. Rain dripped from his hair. His expression never changed. Those black eyes remained fixed on Brian, watching him, studying him. Then he spoke again. "Let us in." The words sounded different this time, more demanding, more urgent, yet somehow still completely calm. Brian later said he felt as if something was trying to influence him, as if a part of his mind wanted to unlock the door, wanted to let them inside. But another part of him was terrified, a deeper instinct, an ancient warning buried somewhere in the human mind. Whatever stood outside that car, it wasn't asking for permission. It needed permission. And somehow Brian knew that if he opened the door, something terrible would happen. His hand slowly moved toward the ignition key. The older boy noticed. For the first time, something changed. The calm expression vanished, just for a second. A flash of frustration crossed his face, almost anger. Then the boy stepped even closer, his face now only inches from the glass. "We can't come in unless you let us." Brian jammed the key into the ignition. The engine roared to life. The sudden sound shattered the strange trance he had fallen into. Fear took over, pure fear. He slammed the car into gear. The tires screeched against the wet pavement, and he accelerated across the parking lot as fast as he could. Rain hammered against the windshield. His heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst from his chest. For several seconds, he kept his eyes fixed on the road, trying to put as much distance as possible between himself and the boys. Then curiosity got the better of him. Slowly, he looked into the rearview mirror. The boys were still standing there, exactly where he had left them, not chasing, not running, not moving at all, just watching. their black eyes fixed on the departing car. Then he blinked, and they were gone. For days afterward, Brian couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the boys standing outside the car, motionless, watching, waiting. At first, he told almost no one. How could he? The story sounded insane. Two children with completely black eyes asking to be let inside a car. Yet the memory refused to fade. Months later, Brian finally shared his experience. He expected people to laugh, to dismiss it as imagination, or stress, or a trick of the light. Instead, something unexpected happened. Other people began telling similar stories, very similar stories. Different states, different cities, different witnesses, yet the details remained almost identical. A knock on a door, a knock on a window, a request for help, a request for a ride, a request to enter. And always the same feeling, an overwhelming sense of fear before anything visibly strange occurred. Many witnesses claimed they felt panic the moment they saw the children, before they noticed the eyes, before they heard them speak, before anything happened at all. It was as if some part of the human mind recognized a danger that logic could not explain. One woman reported hearing a knock on her front door late at night. When she opened it, two children stood outside in the rain. The older one politely asked to come inside and use the telephone. The younger one said nothing. He simply stared at her. The woman later said she felt a sudden wave of terror so intense she nearly slammed the door immediately. Another witness reported encountering black-eyed children at a gas station. The children appeared from nowhere, asked for help, and became strangely persistent when refused. The details changed, but the pattern remained the same. The children always wanted something: a ride, a phone, shelter, entry, and they always seemed unable to take it by force. They needed permission. That detail appears again and again throughout nearly every reported encounter. The children ask, they wait, they persuade, but they never simply enter. And that single fact has led to some disturbing theories. Some people believe the black-eyed children are nothing more than an urban legend, a story that spread across the internet and grew larger with every retelling. Others believe the encounters are real. But if they are real, what exactly are the children? Nobody knows, and perhaps that's the most frightening part. As reports continued to spread, researchers began collecting witness accounts from around the world. Most of the stories ended the same way. The witness refused, the children left, and nothing more happened. But a handful of reports claim something very different. According to those witnesses, they actually allowed the children inside. Whether those stories are true remains impossible to verify, but the details are disturbing. One account described a woman who opened her door during a storm. Two children stood outside, drenched by rain, asking to come in. Against her better judgment, she agreed. The moment the children entered her home, she claimed the atmosphere changed. Instantly. The house felt colder, the air felt heavier, and an overwhelming sense of dread settled over every room. Her dogs reportedly began growling at the children, then retreating in fear. The children remained calm, silent, almost emotionless. Hours later, they left, without explanation, without saying goodbye. According to the witness, strange events followed. Electrical devices malfunctioned, lights flickered, and family members began suffering severe headaches and nosebleeds. Were the events connected? Nobody knows. Another witness reported allowing a pair of black-eyed children into a vehicle. The children sat quietly in the back seat, never speaking, never moving. The driver later claimed he felt overwhelming fear during the entire journey, as if something was sitting behind him, watching, every second. When he finally dropped them off and looked back, the children had vanished. No doors opening, No footsteps, no sound, simply gone. Stories like these remain impossible to prove, yet they continue appearing year after year, decade after decade. And despite thousands of discussions online, no one has ever produced a convincing explanation. Not ghosts, not demons, not extraterrestrials, not psychological hallucinations. Every theory leaves questions unanswered. Perhaps the most frightening possibility is that the witnesses are telling the truth. That somewhere, on lonely roads, outside dark windows, and beyond the reach of streetlights, something is still knocking, still asking for permission, still waiting for someone to say yes. And if that day ever comes, nobody knows what happens next. To this day, the mystery of the black-eyed children remains unsolved. No official investigation has ever confirmed their existence. No photograph has ever proven what they are, and no explanation has successfully accounted for every reported encounter. Yet the stories continue. Year after year, witness after witness, different countries, different backgrounds, different lives, yet somehow the details remain disturbingly similar. A knock at the door, a knock on the window, a request for help, a request to come inside, and eyes that are completely black. Perhaps every story is simply an urban legend, a modern campfire tale shared across the internet, a story that grew larger every time it was told. That would certainly be the comforting explanation. But there is a problem. Many witnesses reported their encounters long before they had ever heard of the black-eyed children. Some refused to discuss their experiences for years, afraid of ridicule, afraid nobody would believe them. Yet when they finally spoke, their descriptions matched, almost perfectly. The same appearance, the same behavior, the same impossible eyes. And perhaps the strangest detail of all, the need for permission. For reasons nobody understands, the children never force their way inside. They ask, they wait, they persuade, as though some invisible rule prevents them from crossing the threshold without consent. Why? No one knows, and maybe no one ever will. Some people believe the black-eyed children are still out there, walking dark roads, standing beneath lonely streetlights, waiting outside homes long after midnight, looking for someone willing to open a door, looking for someone willing to say yes. Maybe the stories are false. Maybe every witness was mistaken. Maybe the black-eyed children never existed at all. Or maybe, somewhere tonight, a knock will sound against a window. Someone will look up and see two silent figures standing in the darkness, waiting, watching, and asking to be let in. If that ever happens, whatever you do, don't open the door, don't unlock the window, and never, ever invite them inside.